Mazda's latest rotary engine doesn't just revive a legend, it rewrites the rules. This compact machine delivers more power than engines twice its size while running cleaner and lighter than today's electric motors. Engineers claim it can match EV efficiency without the heavy batteries that weigh cars down. But the real shock isn't what it does in the lab. It's what happens when this engine hits the road. And the answer may completely change how you think about the electric vehicle industry. Rotary resurgence, the engine that refuses to die. For years, electric cars seemed unstoppable. Then Mazda stepped forward with a revelation that could shake the entire industry to its core. The announcement shaking the EV world right now isn't about a bigger battery or a faster charger. It's about an engine that most of the industry buried over a decade ago. Mazda's Rotary, once written off as too thirsty, too fragile, and too dirty, is suddenly back in the spotlight. And this time, it's being pitched not as a nostalgic throwback, but as the weapon that could break the EV steamroller momentum. Mazda's obsession with the Rotary isn't new, but its roots are more practical than romantic. The company first gambled on the design in the late 1960s, when it was a small automaker fighting for a place on the world stage. The Rotary's compact size and smooth high-revving nature let Mazda build lighter, more agile cars than its piston engine rivals. By the late 1970s and 1980s, the RX-7 became a global sports car icon. Lightweight, nimble, and unmistakable for its screaming rotary wail. But the engine's flaws, poor fuel economy, unreliable apex seals, and rising emissions eventually caught up. Regulations forced Mazda to end production of the RX-8 in 2012, and the Rotary seemed destined for history books. Yet, it never disappeared. Enthusiasts kept the legend alive, tuning old RX-7s and RX-8s into high-horsepower machines for drifting and racing. Meanwhile, inside Mazda, engineers quietly kept working on better seals, more efficient combustion, and cleaner emissions. The Rotary wasn't dead. It was in hiding. Then in 2023, Mazda shocked everyone. Instead of reviving a sports car, it slipped a rotary engine into an unlikely candidate, the MX-30 Rev, a small electric crossover. At first glance, it looked like any other EV, but under the hood sat a tiny 830 cubic centimeter single-rotor engine, not to power the wheels, but to act as an onboard generator. This setup directly targeted EV drivers' biggest fear, running out of charge far from a plug. In the city, the MX-30 behaved like a normal electric car, drifting for about 50 miles on battery power alone. But once the battery dipped, the Rotary switched on to feed electricity back into the pack, extending total range to more than 370 miles. Drivers didn't have to worry about hunting for chargers or being stranded in rural areas. This wasn't just a clever workaround. It solved several of the Rotary's old problems. Acting only as a generator meant the engine ran at a steady, optimized speed, cutting wear and fuel use. Improved seals, better cooling, and high-pressure injection made it more efficient and far cleaner than the engines that came before it. European spec versions reached about 168 horsepower, returned roughly 40 miles per gallon in generator mode, and easily met modern emission standards. The MX-30 wasn't built to thrill enthusiasts. Its modest acceleration around 9 seconds to 60 miles per hour made that clear. But it proved the concept worked. Car owners praised the freedom of driving electric in the city and relying on the Rotary's steady hum for long trips. For the first time, an EV offered both the smoothness of battery power and the range security of liquid fuel without the bulk and cost of a huge battery pack. Inside Mazda, the MX-30 Rev became a live testbed. Engineers gathered real-world data, refined the technology, and quietly prepared for a bigger move. Rotary fans saw it as a signal that their beloved engine wasn't just being revived for nostalgia's sake. EV makers noticed too, because Mazda was hinting at a future where range anxiety and charging delays, two of the EV industry's biggest hurdles, might suddenly have an alternative answer. Now, as whispers grow of an RX-9 class sports car, and even Rotary hybrid crossovers built to challenge mainstream EVs, the stakes are higher than ever. But what truly rattled the electric vehicle giants wasn't the MX-30. It was, actually a quiet technical document Mazda filed next. Buried in that patent was a 6-stroke rotary design that promised to rip up the rules of both gasoline and electric power. The 6-stroke breakthrough, Mazda's patent that threatens to upend EV dominance. You know, the real shock to the EV industry didn't come from a new battery or a faster charger. It came from a single patent Mazda filed in August 2025, a 6-stroke rotary engine that, honestly, rewrites how a gasoline motor works. And if it delivers on its promise, it's going to make electric cars look like a dead-end detour. At first glance, it's still the familiar spinning rotor, but Mazda's new design adds 2 extra strokes to the usual 4. And those extra moves do something extraordinary. They strip hydrogen out of ordinary gasoline while the engine runs. That means the engine burns hydrogen right in the chamber, slashing carbon output. While most of the remaining carbon is trapped instead of going out the tailpipe, the car still fills up at a regular pump. But what comes out of the exhaust is far cleaner, enough to make regulators take notice. The rotary at the heart of this patent is honestly, surprisingly simple. It's a compact single rotor unit, but it's built to handle more than one type of fuel. New seals and injectors can work with gasoline, biofuels, synthetic blends, or even pure hydrogen. This flexibility stands in sharp contrast to electric vehicles, which rely on costly battery minerals and a single energy pathway. A major weakness of older rotaries, the fragile apex seals, has been tackled head-on. Mazda coats the new seals in diamond-like carbon that's about 3 times tougher than what came before, pushing expected service life to 150,000 miles and, well, removing the rebuild worries that haunted past owners. Higher compression, variable port timing, and more precise control over airflow let the engine run efficiently in slow city traffic and still deliver full power on highways. Heat, once the rotary's biggest enemy, is now handled by redesigned oil passages that carry it away 30% faster. This keeps the engine stable even at 10,000 revolutions per minute. Ultra-high pressure fuel injectors spray a fine mist that burns more completely, boosting efficiency and cutting waste. In hybrid setups, the extra 2 strokes recover heat energy to create even more hydrogen on the go, raising combined fuel economy while keeping emissions far below older engines. The package is light, less than 100 pounds compared to EV battery packs that can top 1,000. That means better weight balance, sharper handling, and strong performance without adding bulk. Paired with electric motors in a hybrid system, it delivers instant torques at launch and sustained power at speed without the range anxiety that dogs pure EVs. Cost is the final twist. Building this engine relies on ordinary steel and common manufacturing processes, avoiding the rare earth metals and expensive supply chains tied to batteries. Mazda's own estimates suggest it could cut drivetrain costs by roughly a quarter. For the EVI industry, the threat is clear. A light, cheap, multi-fuel rotary that runs cleaner than many hybrids and sidesteps battery bottlenecks could tempt buyers who hesitate to go fully electric. Yet, the 6-stroke breakthrough was only the opening shot. Mazda understood that to win drivers over, it had to exploit the one weakness that still haunts even the most advanced EVs. The very thing most EV buyers fear on long drives. So, let's talk about the hidden weak spot of electric vehicles. The one that Mazda has plans to exploit. The electric vehicle revolution, as exciting as it is, has a vulnerability that most automakers would really prefer you to overlook. It's not about the style or even brand loyalty. No. It's about that one crucial factor that keeps drivers alert and awake on the road. Range. Mazda's engineers, they noticed this vulnerability early on, and their new rotary technology seems like it's designed to hit right at the heart of it. Back in 2025, surveys showed that a whopping 3 out of every 4 potential electric vehicle buyers were still worried about running out of charge before finding a station. And you know that fear isn't just something made up. Even those models that are advertised with, say, 300 miles of range often fall short when you're actually out there driving in the real world. You turn on the air conditioning in the summer, or maybe you're fighting strong winds on the highway, and suddenly that range can drop to around 250 miles. Winter, well, it just makes things worse. Batteries, they lose efficiency in freezing conditions, sometimes cutting range by as much as 40%. For drivers in colder regions, what was supposed to be a stress-free trip can quickly become a constant calculation of how far they can go before they're stuck. Costs add another layer of doubt. The battery pack alone makes up about 40% of an EV's sticker price. Replacing one out of warranty can run from $5,000 to $16,000, often within 8 to 10 years. That's like, honestly, buying another car just to keep the first one running. Even the green image has its limits. Mining for lithium and cobalt damages the environment and depends on unstable supply chains. Battery prices have fallen over the years, but they still hang around $139 per kilowatt hour. which is, pretty high for many mainstream buyers. Future-proofing plays a role too. Mazda has patents in place for hydrogen-compatible rotary hybrids, and even rotary-assisted fuel cell systems. That gives them flexibility if regulations shift toward zero-emission rules. While the electric charging network still struggles in rural areas and developing markets, if infrastructure progress remains slow, Rotary's 600 to 700-mile range and quick refueling will stay attractive. EV leaders aren't standing still. Tesla is pushing toward cheaper solid-state batteries and expanding its supercharger network. BYD is investing in sodium-ion cells to cut costs. If those technologies scale quickly and infrastructure gaps close, the Rotary advantage could shrink. On the other hand, if Mazda can capture strong early demand, industry watchers say 50,000 unit sales in the first year could be a tipping point. The hybrid approach could, honestly, reshape strategies across the market. The upcoming years will reveal whether the Rotary is a genuine disruptor or just a brief detour in the shift toward full electrification. For now, it represents the clearest challenge yet to the idea that batteries alone will define the future of driving. The real question is whether buyers, especially in markets tired of range anxiety and charging delays, will back it strongly enough to keep that challenge alive. And that question now shifts to you. Do you believe Mazda's Rotary hybrid strategy, blending freedom from chargers with long-range multi-fuel power, can truly shut down the EV momentum? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to follow the twists ahead in the battle for the future of driving, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next big shock to the EV world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.